Why does an adult sometimes feel 6 years old in the middle of a normal day? Inner child healing is a way of understanding how early experiences still shape reactions even years later. It is not about acting childish, and it is not about blaming the past. It is about seeing the younger part that still expects danger, rejection, or pressure, and how that expectation can steer thoughts, moods, and relationships. This narration walks through the clearest signs that this younger part is asking for care, and why those signs can feel confusing. Staying until the end matters because one quiet, everyday habit is often the strongest clue, and noticing it can loosen a tension that has felt normal for a long time. A common first sign is a big reaction to a small moment. A friend replies with one-word texts. A partner forgets a small promise. A manager sounds flat in a meeting. Suddenly, the body tightens. The heart drops. The mind rushes to worst-case stories. Then confusion arrives. The event was small. The feeling is huge. This usually comes from the nervous system, not from weak character. In many childhoods, small cues were warnings. A sigh could mean blame. A quiet house could mean trouble. A delayed pickup could mean being forgotten. The body learned to react early to stay safe. That learning can stay switched on in adulthood, even when the present is not dangerous. A second sign is the feeling that love must be earned. Some people feel safest when they are useful. They do extra work, fix problems, and smooth tension before anyone asks. They become the easy one. They keep needs small and say yes too quickly. Rest doesn't always bring relief. Sometimes it brings guilt. This often starts when attention felt conditional. Praise may have come only with good grades, good behavior, or helping adults cope. A child learns. Being needed keeps people close. Later, the adult may look strong and reliable while feeling unseen and tired inside. The inner child keeps working because stopping feels like losing connection. A third sign is fear around conflict, even gentle conflict. Hard talks get delayed. Feelings get swallowed. The phrase, "it's fine," appears, even when it is not. Sometimes the mind goes blank during tension. Words disappear. The body freezes. Later, the conversation plays on repeat with shame and frustration. In some homes, conflict did not lead to repair. It led to yelling, harsh criticism, silent treatment, or punishment. So a child learned to stay small, to stay safe. As an adult, the body can treat disagreement like a threat to belonging. That is why calm feedback can still feel like being in trouble, even when no one is attacking. A fourth sign is heavy shame over normal mistakes. A small error feels personal. A forgotten detail feels like proof of being bad. A messy week feels like failure as a person. The inner voice can become sharp and unforgiving. It may use words like lazy, selfish, or stupid. Healthy guilt focuses on an action and leaves room for repair. Toxic shame attacks identity. Toxic shame often grows when a child is criticized for feelings, needs, or normal development. A child cannot easily separate something went wrong from being wrong, so perfection becomes a shield. The problem is that perfection never feels secure for long. A fifth sign is emotional numbness. Tears feel stuck. Joy feels far away. Important moments feel muted. Life can feel like watching through glass. From the outside, this can look calm and controlled. Inside, it can feel flat or empty. Numbness is often a protective skill. If emotions were unsafe in childhood, the mind learned to turn the volume down. Not feeling too much helped the child function. But the same shield that blocks pain also blocks warmth, play, and closeness. The inner child may still be hiding feelings, not because feelings are wrong, but because feelings once led to trouble. A sixth sign is being pulled toward people who feel familiar, not safe. A person may keep choosing partners who are distant, or friends who are critical, or leaders who are unpredictable. Even when it hurts, the pattern feels oddly right. The brain likes what it knows. Familiarity can feel like love. If closeness once came with uncertainty, anxiety can become mistaken for chemistry. If approval once required chasing, chasing can feel normal. The inner child may be trying to rewrite the past by winning love that was once inconsistent, but repeating the pattern usually repeats the pain. A seventh sign is a strong need for control. Plans feel tight. Surprises feel threatening. Waiting for answers feels unbearable. Small changes can trigger big stress. Control can look like being responsible and organized. It can also look like rigid rules that leave no room for life. Control often grows from early chaos. If adults were inconsistent, predictability became safety. If moods were unpredictable, planning became protection. If mistakes led to shame, being prepared reduced risk. As an adult, control can create success, but it can also keep the nervous system tense because life will always include uncertainty. The inner child keeps trying to manage the unmanageable. These signs can look different from person to person, but they share one theme. They are protective moves. They are the body and mind trying to prevent an old kind of pain. The better question isn't what's wrong with them. The question is, what did this person have to learn to stay safe back then? Two well-established ideas help explain this. The first is attachment. Children need steady care and comfort to learn that closeness is safe. When care is consistent, a child learns that needs can be shared. When care is inconsistent, a child may learn rules like do not need, be perfect, or be useful. Those rules can become automatic in adulthood. The second is the stress response. The body reacts to danger with fight, flight, freeze, or appease. If childhood danger felt frequent, the alarm system can stay sensitive. Then a tone of voice, a look, or a delay can trigger an old alarm. The adult mind may understand the situation. The body may still react as if the past is happening again. Inner child healing begins with noticing without attacking the self. Noticing creates space. It helps separate present facts from old meaning. It also changes the inner voice. Many people carry an inner voice that sounds like past criticism. It says, stop being dramatic. It says, do not need so much. It says, do better or get rejected. A steadier voice is different. It is firm, but not cruel. It sounds like, that moment touched something old. It sounds like, safety matters now. This does not excuse harmful actions. It simply meets the emotion with reality and care, which helps the nervous system settle. Here is the central realization. The signs are not proof of a broken personality. They are proof of a loyal survival system that has been working for a long time. People-pleasing is not fake. It is a strategy to keep connection. Conflict avoidance is not weakness. It is a strategy to prevent punishment. Control is not just stubbornness. It is a strategy to reduce chaos. Numbness is not coldness. It is a strategy to keep pain from flooding the system. Shame is not morality. It is a strategy to stop mistakes before they cost love. In childhood, these strategies could be smart. They may have helped a child stay close to caregivers, stay unnoticed, or stay protected. But adulthood is different. The adult can choose relationships that repair instead of repeat. The adult can set boundaries that the child could not set. The adult can make a mistake and still remain worthy. Inner child healing is not about deleting the past. It is about updating the nervous system with a new truth. The present has options right now. The present has support. And the younger part does not have to drive the whole life anymore. When that shift is felt, even briefly, the signs begin to look less like shameful flaws and more like messages that can finally be understood. After that, life does not turn perfect. Triggers still appear. Stress still happens. The nervous system learns slowly because it learns slowly. But small moments start to matter. A text gets read without panic for a few extra seconds. A mistake happens, and the inner voice does not immediately attack. A need gets named without a long apology. These are small updates in safety. Over time, the signs become signals. Anger becomes a sign that fear is nearby. Numbness becomes a sign of overload. People-pleasing becomes a sign that approval is being chased in the wrong place. Control becomes a sign that uncertainty feels like the old chaos again. Inner child healing often looks ordinary. It can look like taking a breath before replying. It can look like letting someone be disappointed without rushing to fix it. It can look like offering the self-patience. And sometimes, in an ordinary room, the body loosens for a second. The shoulders drop. The jaw unclenches. The mind stops scanning for danger. In that small quiet, the younger part may finally feel the difference between then and now, and may start to wonder what it would be like to live without earning, without bracing, without shrinking, and to stay close to that wonder just long enough.
6 signs you should end all contact with someone. Have you ever had someone in your life who leaves you drained? Like every interaction quietly steals a piece of your peace? You can't explain it logically, but your body always knows. Your shoulders tense before you see them, your energy drops after you talk. You tell yourself you're overreacting, but deep down you feel it. Something isn't right. That's when you need to recognize the truth. There are signs you should end all contact with someone. and it often begins quietly, the kind of pain that doesn't leave bruises. They'll say they were just joking. They'll twist your words until you start questioning your own memory. One moment you're confident, and the next you're apologizing for things you didn't do. That's gaslighting, a form of emotional abuse that rewires your sense of truth. It teaches you to doubt your own reality until their version of the story becomes the only one that feels safe to believe. But it's not safety, it's control. Psychologists explain that long-term exposure to emotional manipulation keeps your body stuck in fight or flight. You start anticipating harm, even in silence. If you feel relief when they leave the room and anxiety when they return, that's not love, that's survival. And survival is not a relationship. Sometimes the control doesn't come through words, it comes through silence. They stop speaking to you, not to find peace, but to make you suffer. The silent treatment is emotional starvation, attention withheld until you break first. You text, they ignore you. You call, they vanish. They know that silence burns deeper than anger because it tells you you're not worth responding to. Neuroscience shows that rejection pain lights up the same brain centers as physical injury. That ache in your chest when they ignore you, that's your body reacting to emotional violence. Healthy people pause to breathe. Toxic people pause to punish. And when silence becomes a weapon, the only winning move is not to play. The next stage is even more subtle. The moment your boundaries stop meaning anything, you say, "Please don't talk to me like that." They do it again. You ask for space. They invade it. You explain what hurts you, and they laugh. That's not a misunderstanding. It's disrespect disguised as affection. Each time they cross your line, they teach you to make it a little further away. You call it compromise, but it's not. It's erosion. Psychologists warn that repeated boundary violations are an early predictor of emotional abuse escalation. Because once someone learns your no means try harder, they stop hearing you at all. If you've drawn the line and they keep walking over it, you don't need a new boundary. You need distance. And yet, some people don't use cruelty all the time. They mix it with kindness, just enough to keep you hoping. One day they're affectionate, warm and charming. Then suddenly, they turn distant or unkind, and you can't predict which version of them you'll face. That's not confusion, it's control. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. It's how manipulators train your emotions, give just enough love to keep you chasing more. It's the same pattern that keeps gamblers pulling levers, waiting for that one good moment to make all the bad ones worth it. But love isn't supposed to feel like gambling. When affection becomes a prize, it stops being love. You start checking your phone more often, watching your words, trying to predict their mood, until one day, even the sound of their name makes your stomach drop. You see a text and your whole body tenses. That's not anxiety. That's your nervous system remembering pain. Researchers call it anticipatory anxiety, the fear that something bad will happen because it always does. A healthy relationship calms your body. A toxic one trains it to panic. If every call feels like a test and every message feels like a trap, it's not communication anymore, it's conditioning. And your body keeps sending signals, asking you to listen. The most heartbreaking part is what happens next. The slow fading of who you used to be. You start avoiding opinions, just to keep the peace. You laugh less, dress differently, speak softer, until one day you realize you've been shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You call it love, but it feels more like disappearing, because genuine love helps you grow. It makes you more of who you are, not less. When someone forces you to dim your lights so they can shine brighter, that isn't partnership, that's possession. And when you start to forget your own voice, the kindest thing you can do is walk away and remember it. Ask yourself, who were you before them? And who could you become once they're gone? Because when someone poisons your peace, you don't fix it, you leave it behind. No dramatic exits, no long explanations, no closure, just silence. Not the kind that punishes, but the kind that heals. Because sometimes silence says more than words ever could.
You ever sit there mindful of plans, ideas, goals, and still do nothing? You see the vision crystal clear, yet your hands won't move. Here's the twist. You're not unmotivated. You're lazy but ambitious, that rare mix of big dreams and frozen action. It's not that you lack drive, it's that your ambition is so large it paralyzes you. You're not low on motivation, you're drowning in it. So, in this video, we're going to expose what really hides behind that lazy label, why ambition can freeze you instead of fuel you, and what causes that invisible burnout between dreaming and doing, and how to turn all that potential into movement. Because once you understand the mechanics behind the paralysis, you'll realize something powerful. You were never lazy. You were just overloaded by your own drive. Here's what most people get wrong. The people who call themselves lazy are often the ones that care the most. They think so much about what could be that they get stuck imagining instead of acting. Studies on self-discipline and procrastination reveal this exact paradox. People with big goals often delay action, not out of apathy, but because they're overthinking and emotionally overloaded. A 2023 study found that people with high self-control procrastinate less, not because they're always motivated, but because they've trained themselves not to wait to feel ready. They start before inspiration arrives. So, when you're ambitious but idle, the problem isn't desire, it's the weight of it. You're carrying too much vision for your current momentum. That tension, wanting more, doing less, creates an emotional friction. And that guilt spiral that follows, that's the part that kills you. You don't feel useless because you are. You feel useless because your brain confuses not acting yet with not capable. But capacity isn't the issue. Friction is. You've probably said it before. I'm just lazy. But here's the truth. Laziness is a cover story your brain tells to avoid discomfort. Psychologists define procrastination not as a time problem, but as an emotional regulation problem. It's not about the task itself, it's about how the task feels. When something feels overwhelming, your brain protects you by reaching for something easier. A scroll, a snack, a nap. That isn't a lack of willpower, it's emotional avoidance disguised as rest. Neuroscience explains it like this. Your emotional brain wants comfort now, while your logical brain wants progress later. The stronger your long-term vision, the louder that clash becomes. So, if you're ambitious yet stagnant, it's not that you're lazy, it's that your brain is dodging the emotional discomfort of caring deeply. The solution isn't more willpower, it's learning to lower the emotional weight of starting. For most lazy but ambitious people, the real block is hidden perfectionism. You imagine the finished version so vividly that the first version feels like a failure. You think, I'll start when I can do it right. But waiting becomes a habit, and perfection becomes paralysis. A 2024 review on procrastination and goal formation found that people delay most when the goal feels too vague or too big. The brain treats unclear or high-stakes tasks as threats, triggering the same avoidance loop as fear. And so the gap widens between I'll do it soon and I've started. That's the execution gap, and every overthought moment stretches it further. The only way to close it is structure, not speed. Don't say, I'll write my book. Say, I'll open the document and type one line. Because motion beats motivation. Even the smallest start breaks fear faster than any pep talk could. And when that motion repeats, identity shifts from dreamer to doer. Here's the brain hack no one teaches. Your mind overestimates the pain of starting and underestimates the reward of progress. That's why you keep waiting for the right time. But there is no right time, only the moment you choose to begin. Neuroscientists studying task initiation found that just 2 minutes of action activates dopamine circuits linked to motivation. That's the action feedback loop, the mechanism where effort itself creates momentum. Open the laptop, draft one line, send one message. Each small act tells your brain, we've started. The momentum isn't built in leaps, it's built in loops. That's why micro-habits outperform massive plans. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need one move that proves to your nervous system that forward is possible. You don't need to feel motivated to move. You need to move to feel motivated. Here's the trap. You keep waiting to feel ready. But readiness is a byproduct of rhythm. Motivation burns bright, but it burns out fast. Systems, though, are engines. They keep running, whether you feel inspired or not. Studies on self-control and decision fatigue show that people who rely on consistent routines perform better and burn out less. Why? Because structure removes the emotional noise of constant choice. When your days run on rails, fixed wake times, clear work blocks, defined priorities, your brain stops arguing with itself. Energy that used to go into deciding now goes into doing. It's less about discipline and more about strategy. If checking your phone kills your focus, leave it in another room. If big projects intimidate you, start with 5-minute warm-ups instead of perfect hours. Psychologists call this context engineering, designing your environment so discipline isn't a daily battle. And here's the irony. Systems don't limit freedom, they create it. Once you break inertia, something deeper starts to change. You stop trying to be productive. You become productive. Each completed task whispers, I follow through. Each small step forward shifts how you see yourself. Behavior builds belief. Consistency reshapes confidence. Studies consistently show that people high in conscientiousness outperform even those with higher IQs, because intelligence means little without follow-through. That's the part most overlook. Being clever doesn't move you forward. Being consistent does. And when consistency meets ambition, you stop living in your head and start building in the world. That's when lazy dies, not because you burned out, but because you aligned effort with identity. You stop chasing motivation. You become the person who doesn't need it. So remember this, you were never unmotivated. You were just lazy but ambitious. A mind built for greatness, trapped in idleness. Ambition was never your enemy. Waiting was. The cure isn't to push harder. It's to start smaller, steadier, smarter. Because once motion begins, momentum does the rest. And the day you stop waiting for the right time, that's the day your real life starts moving.
The psychology of the family scapegoat. Why one takes blame. What happens inside a home when one person becomes the easy target? When every argument, mistake, and silent tension seems to land on their shoulders even when they did nothing wrong? That question sits at the heart of the family's scapegoat. And today, we're going straight into why one person gets blamed, how this role forms, and the hidden psychology that keeps it alive. Before we dive, think about this. Have you ever wondered why certain families act like emotion is a fire they have to toss onto someone else? Why is one child labeled the troublemaker, while another is praised no matter what they do? And what if the one who carries the blame isn't the cause of the chaos at all, but the shield hiding what the family refuses to face? Let's get in. Families don't usually announce who the scapegoat will be. It happens quietly. One day a child spills juice and gets yelled at. Another day their sibling spills the same juice, and the room laughs it off. Over time, the pattern isn't random anymore. It becomes a role. Psychology calls this scapegoating. And in family systems theory, it's one of the clearest signs of a dysfunctional emotional structure. A scapegoat isn't chosen because they caused the problem. They're chosen because the family needs someone to carry the problem. The purpose is emotional stability, not truth. The moment this dynamic begins, the child becomes the outlet for tension, shame, frustration, and unresolved pain that has nothing to do with them. This is why experts say the scapegoat child is rarely the cause of the issues they're accused of. The role exists to redirect pressure away from the family's deeper wounds. And that redirection usually starts with one psychological mechanism: projection. Projection is simple but destructive. When a parent struggles with anger, guilt, or insecurity that they cannot confront, they project it onto the child who seems easiest to blame. This may be the child who is quiet, sensitive, outspoken, independent, or simply different from the family's mold. Because once that projection begins, the family doesn't just blame the child. They start reorganizing the entire household around that story. Suddenly, every small misstep fits the narrative. If they act out, it is prude. If they stay silent, it is attitude. If they succeed, it is ignored. The role locks in early, and once cemented, it becomes almost impossible to break from inside the system. You'll often see this play out when the family also crowns someone else as the golden child. This sibling becomes the good one, praised for traits the scapegoat may also have, or even have more of. But the roles aren't about fairness. They're about emotional structure. The golden child keeps the family's image clean. The scapegoat absorbs the dirt the family can't face. This isn't random, it's strategic, and it's damaging in ways most people never see. Because being the family's emotional sponge leaves marks that reach far beyond childhood. Imagine waking up every day already wrong, not because of anything you did, but because the family needs you to be the one who holds its shadow. Research shows that scapegoated children grow up with intense and chronic self-doubt. They learn to scan every interaction, every tone shift, every sigh in the room for signs that blame is coming. A steady strain trains the nervous system to adapt. Their identity forms around avoiding conflict, anticipating danger, or trying to earn affection that never comes. This constant tension can trigger anxiety, shame, and chronic stress. Some develop symptoms consistent with complex trauma. The child internalizes the idea, if I am always the problem, maybe I am the problem. And that belief becomes the quiet voice that follows them into adulthood. But scapegoating doesn't happen because the child is weak. In many cases, it happens because the child is strong. The most independent child, the most outspoken, the one who sees through dysfunction first. They are often the most threatening to a parent who cannot tolerate emotional reflection. Removing their voice becomes a survival strategy for the family. And once this role is assigned, the system guards it fiercely. In dysfunctional homes, everyone learns to play their part. Parents reinforce the blame. Siblings join in to avoid becoming targets themselves. The family reorganizes around a simple rule. You hold the blame, so we don't have to. The instinct is so strong that even when the scapegoat grows, matures, succeeds, or moves away, the story often remains frozen in the family's mind. Why? Because the point isn't who gets labeled the scapegoat, it's about what the family needs them to be. Breaking this pattern from within the family is nearly impossible. The moment a scapegoat tries to set boundaries, the family sees it as defiance. Attempts to speak up can trigger even harsher blame. The system pushes back because change threatens the family's emotional equilibrium. Some scapegoats react by withdrawing completely. They learn that silence feels safer. They avoid family gatherings, keep conversations brief, or stay emotionally distant as a shield. Others go in the opposite direction. They try to become perfectionists, people pleasers, or overachievers. They hope that if they do everything right, the blame will finally stop. But it doesn't, because the blame was never about their behavior. The role is psychological, not factual. Even when the scapegoat leaves the toxic environment, the guilt and self-doubt follow them. They may enter relationships where they again tolerate blame, criticism, or emotional manipulation because the dynamic feels familiar. The role trained them to accept mistreatment as normal. So how does someone break free? The first step is recognizing the pattern. A person cannot escape the role until they see it clearly. Psychology research shows that awareness breaks the illusion that the scapegoat is the problem. Once they understand this dynamic, the entire narrative shifts. They begin to see that the blame they carried was never theirs. Healing often requires support outside the family. Therapy helps unpack years of internalized shame. It gives structure and language to experiences that once felt chaotic. Many adults who grew up scapegoated describe therapy as the first place where their story finally made sense. Boundaries become essential. A scapegoat who tries to heal without boundaries often gets pulled back into the role. Limiting contact, refusing to take responsibility for others' emotions, or stepping back from toxic relatives are not acts of cruelty. They are acts of survival. And with time, something powerful begins to happen. The person who was once labeled the problem begins to reclaim their identity. They learn to trust healthy relationships. They develop the confidence they were denied. And eventually, the family story loses its grip on their life. But there is a twist worth noting. When a scapegoat heals, it often exposes the truth that the family tried to bury. Because once the scapegoat stops carrying the blame, the family can no longer avoid what they were hiding behind that role. The structure begins to crack. Sometimes the blame moves to another member, sometimes relationships fracture, sometimes the truth finally emerges. But once the scapegoat steps out of the role, the family loses the emotional shield it relied on. This is the part families fear, and the reason they fight so hard to keep the scapegoat in place. Many scapegoats rise in ways the family never expected. Strength grows where blame once lived. Clarity replaces confusion. Self-worth replaces shame. Because when someone survives a childhood where they carry the weight of everyone else's emotions, they develop resilience that most people never have to learn. And that makes the final truth hit even harder. Sometimes the one the family blamed the most was the one holding the entire family together. And when they finally let go of the role they never chose, the whole story changes. And what was once hidden can no longer stay buried. That is the psychology behind the family's scapegoat. And the moment you see it for what it is, nothing about the blame makes sense anymore.
What if the voice that says not good enough is not telling the truth, but trying to keep a person safe? Perfectionism can look like high standards, strong work, and careful choices, and people may even praise it. Underneath, it can feel like a tight chest, a busy mind, and a fear of being found out. This story follows how that fear turns goals into a moving target, how mistakes start to feel dangerous, and why rest can feel undeserved. Staying to the end matters because the never enough feeling can start to make sense, not as a flaw, but as a pattern that was learned for a reason. When the pattern becomes clear, the trap can loosen, and a person can begin to breathe in a different way, even if life still looks the same on the outside. Mara wakes up before the alarm. The first thought is not about breakfast. It is about what was missed. An email that might sound wrong. A meeting where one sentence could have been better. A list that never feels finished. On the outside, Mara looks solid. Deadlines get met. Details get caught. People trust the work. Inside, the day feels like walking on thin glass. One crack, and everything could fall through. That fear is the start of the perfection trap. It is not a love of excellence. It is a fear of being seen as less. Psychologists often separate healthy striving from perfectionism. Healthy striving aims for growth and meaning. It leaves room for learning. Perfectionism aims for safety. It tries to avoid shame, blame, or rejection. The goal is not to do well. The goal is to never do wrong. That is why perfectionism does not settle after a win. Praise can feel nice for a moment. Then the mind asks, what is next? If the bar is high, it gets raised. If the bar is reached, it moves again. The feeling of good enough does not land because safety is never fully proven. Many people learn this pattern early. Some grew up with love that felt tied to performance. A good grade brought warmth. A mistake brought lectures or cold distance. Others grew up around chaos. In an unpredictable home, being perfect can feel like a way to reduce harm. Some were praised for being the responsible one, and the role became a mask that could not slip. Over time, the mind builds hidden rules. Never disappoint. Never need help. Never be ordinary. These rules may not be spoken, but they shape choices. Mara says yes to extra tasks. Mara fixes tiny errors that nobody else would notice. Mara rewrites a message again and again, then feels ashamed for caring so much, then rewrites it again. This is not vanity. It is a threat response. The brain is built to spot danger fast. For some people, mistakes start to feel like danger. A small error can wake the same alarm system that would respond to a real threat. The body tightens. The mind scans for what could go wrong. In that moment, perfectionism feels like a shield. The inner critic often becomes the voice of that shield. It sounds harsh on purpose. It says, do more. Do not mess this up. The critic usually believes it is helping. If Mara stays tense, maybe Mara will stay sharp. If Mara stays afraid, maybe Mara will stay safe. The critic does not know that fear can shrink creativity and steal sleep. It only knows that fear gets results. Then the trap gets rewarded. People call Mara so disciplined. They ask for more. The praise feels good, but it also tightens the mask. If being valued depends on being perfect, then resting feels risky. Saying no feels risky. Even joy can feel risky because joy relaxes the guard. In this state, time starts to bend. A simple task can take hours. Mara edits a slide deck late at night. The work improves, but the process turns punishing. The mind searches for one weak spot. That is all or nothing thinking. In that style of thinking, one flaw becomes a full failure. Perfectionism also loves certainty. It wants the future to be predictable. It wants other people to respond in a certain way. But life does not offer that kind of control. A strong project can still be criticized. A kind message can still be misunderstood. When certainty is not possible, the mind grabs for control in smaller places. It checks and rechecks. It delays sending anything until it feels ready, even when ready never arrives. This is where perfectionism and procrastination link up. Waiting can feel safer than being seen. Social comparison adds fuel. It is easy to see other people's finished work and forget the messy middle. A feed shows polished photos and clean results. Mara scrolls and feels a drop in the stomach. The mind turns comparison into a verdict. Someone else looks better, so Mara must be behind. And if Mara is behind, then Mara is not enough. Under all of this sits a deeper belief. Worth must be earned. Belonging must be proven. In that belief, everything becomes a test. The mind keeps trying to pass by working harder, checking more, and aiming higher. Breaking the perfection trap starts with seeing what perfectionism is trying to do. It is trying to prevent pain. It is trying to avoid shame. It is trying to earn belonging. Once that is seen, a person can keep the need for safety while changing the method. Mara begins with small experiments, not big promises. One day, an email gets written once and sent after a short pause. The body predicts disaster. Then nothing happens. Another day, a report is finished with one sentence left a little rough. The critic complains, but the complaint becomes a sound, not a command. A second shift happens when standards get separated from identity. A standard can be high. A person does not have to be on trial. The work can be edited. The self does not need to be attacked. The brain needs repeated proof of that difference. Mara also starts to notice the cost. Extra polish steals sleep. Extra control steals time with friends. Extra checking steals trust and memory. When the cost becomes clear, the mind has a reason to choose differently. Slowly, the question changes. Instead of, is it perfect, the question becomes, is it true to the purpose? Instead of, will everyone approve, the question becomes, is this aligned with what matters? Fear does not vanish. It just stops running the whole show. And still, the never-enough feeling tries to return. It shows up after praise. It shows up in quiet rooms. That is when the final piece starts to form, the piece that can flip the pattern in a calm but lasting way. One afternoon, a small mistake slips through. A number in a report is off. It gets noticed in a meeting. The room pauses. Mara feels the old heat rise fast. The mind rushes to the usual story. This is it, the moment everything collapses. But something different happens. Nobody laughs. Nobody storms out. A colleague points to the line, and the group fixes it. The meeting moves on. Later, Mara waits for the shame to fade. But the shame is not the only thing present. There is also a strange detail. The body is still here. The relationships are still here. The world did not demand perfection to keep going. That is the crack where the trap starts to break. The never good enough voice is not proof of failure. It is a safety alarm built from old lessons. It rings loudest when the stakes feel social, when approval feels like survival. Perfectionism is the mind's attempt to buy belonging with flawless performance. But belonging is not something that can be purchased with error-free work. It is something that grows in truth, in repair, and in being seen while still unfinished. When Mara sees that, the critic does not vanish. It softens. It sounds less like a judge and more like fear asking for reassurance. After that day, life does not turn gentle all at once. The old habits still show up. Mara still feels the pull to overcheck, to over-explain, to stay late. The difference is that the pull gets noticed sooner. It is easier to name it as fear, not truth. Some evenings, Mara closes a laptop with one task still undone. The room is a bit too quiet. The mind wants to reopen the screen and chase the last loose thread. Instead, Mara sits with the discomfort and watches it move through the body like weather. It rises, it peaks, it passes. There is no final moment where a person is declared enough forever. There are only choices made in small, ordinary minutes. A draft sent while still imperfect. A rest taken without earning it. A mistake met with repair instead of self-hate. The voice that once sounded like a verdict can start to sound like a question, and sometimes it even sounds like a child asking if it is safe to stop. And in that softer space, the bar does not disappear, but it stops chasing. And something quieter begins to matter. Something that cannot be measured, something that simply sits beside the work and waits, like a door left slightly open, like breath returning, like the sense that being human might be allowed. What does it mean when someone never posts, even when life is clearly happening? Some people share birthdays, trips, and tiny daily wins like a running story. Others stay quiet and only watch. That quiet can look like secrecy or sadness from the outside, but it often comes from something more normal, a need for privacy, a dislike of attention, or a wish to feel life before showing it. This narration follows the psychology behind the silent profile, from simple boundaries to deeper fears, until the silence looks less like absence and more like a choice. Understanding that difference matters because silence is judged fast, and the wrong guess can create distance that never needed to exist. A person who does not post still lives in a world that rewards being seen. Online spaces run on signals. A photo says, "This happened." A caption says, "This matters." Over time, a feed can start to feel like proof that a person is happy, loved, successful, or at least interesting. For some people, that feels fun. For others, it feels like standing under a bright light. One reason is self-presentation. Everyone manages impressions a little. In real life, it happens through tone, timing, and body language. Online, it happens through pictures and words that stay up. A single post can feel like a permanent label. A person may think, if this goes up, it becomes part of who this person is. That can feel heavy, especially for people who change a lot inside and do not want an old version of the self pinned to the wall. Misunderstanding makes that heavier. Online, tone is easy to miss. Context is missing. A joke can look mean. A proud moment can look like bragging. A quiet person may have learned through experience that being visible can bring the wrong kind of attention. Silence becomes a way to avoid being misread. Then there is the blended audience problem. In real life, a person speaks differently to friends, family, and coworkers. Online, those groups mix into one crowded room. A post that feels normal to friends might feel strange to a boss. A photo that feels sweet to a partner might feel too personal to a parent. When the audience is too mixed, the brain can freeze. The safest message becomes no message. Not posting can also be about control. Posting invites feedback, and feedback teaches behavior. Likes, comments, and views are small rewards. The brain notices what gets a reaction. Without meaning to, a person can start choosing what to share based on what performs well. Soon, life can feel like it is being arranged for the audience. Some people notice that shift and pull back. It is not because they hate people. It is because they hate how it feels to be trained. They want moments to stay private, not measured. They want a sunset to be a sunset, not a post that needs a caption. For other people, attention itself feels intense. Being seen can feel like being touched. Even kind comments can feel invasive because they come from people who were not invited into the moment. A person might enjoy closeness, but only in small rooms with trusted people. A public feed feels like a stage, and a stage asks for a performance. Introversion can add to that. Introversion is not disliking people. It is about how energy is used. Posting can feel like being on for a long time because the social moment does not end when the post goes up. Replies arrive later. People bring it up later. Messages arrive from strangers or distant acquaintances. For a mind that needs quiet to recharge, that lingering social noise can feel draining. Anxiety can show up in quiet profiles too. Some people fear criticism, which is easy to understand. But some also fear praise. Praise can create pressure. A post that does well can raise the bar. Then the next post feels like a test. For a person with social anxiety, even a friendly reaction can feel like a spotlight that will return again. Perfectionism often sits nearby. The photo is not good enough. The caption sounds wrong. The timing is awkward. From the outside, it can look like high standards. Underneath, it is often fear of judgment. Perfectionism whispers, if it is not perfect, it is not safe. Silence avoids the risk completely. Social comparison also plays a role. Scrolling can turn into a quiet contest, even when nobody says it out loud. A person compares a normal day to other people's best moments. Over time, that can create envy, shame, or a sense of falling behind. Some people respond by posting more to keep up. Others step away to protect mood and focus. Not posting can be an act of self-care, especially for people who notice that comparison makes them harsher with themselves. Values matter as well. Some people do not want loved ones turned into content. They do not want a partner, a child, or a friend used as proof of a good life. They may have seen how quickly strangers judge from a distance. A relationship becomes perfect or fake. A parent becomes right or wrong. Silence can be a way to keep what is precious out of the opinion machine. Practical safety can be part of it too. Some jobs require privacy. Some people have been stalked or harassed. Some have learned that too much detail online can bring problems later. A digital footprint can feel like a trail that never fades. For a cautious person, not posting is not shyness, it is risk management. And sometimes silence is connected to pain. A person may stop posting during a breakup, a loss, or a difficult season, not because life ended, but because the public version of life no longer fits. Posting invites questions. It invites comments that may not land well. Silence gives space to feel things without explaining. This is where it helps to look at the feeling under the behavior. Chosen silence tends to feel calm. It feels like a boundary. Fear-based silence tends to feel tight. It feels like hiding. From the outside, both look the same. From the inside, they are different worlds. That difference shows up in a small moment many people know. A person opens an app. A photo is chosen. The caption bar waits. Fingers hover. Then the hand pauses, and a question shows up. Who is this for? Sometimes the answer is simple. It is for connection. It is for sharing joy with friends far away. But sometimes the answer is uncomfortable. It is for relief. It is for proving something. It is for calming a worry that says, if nobody sees it, it does not count. That pause is the turning point. In that pause, some people realize that the post is not about sharing at all. It is about being safe in other people's eyes. It is about not being forgotten. It is about making life feel real by turning it into evidence. And that is when the meaning of silence changes. Not posting, for many people, is not a sign of emptiness. It is a boundary around attention and identity. It protects a life from becoming a display. It pulls the spotlight off the self and back onto the moment. It keeps experiences from being edited while they are still happening. It lets joy be quiet. It lets grief be private. It lets love be real without an audience. But silence is not always simple. Staying invisible can create distance too. Friends may assume the quiet person is not around. Invitations can fade. Misunderstandings can grow. The quiet person may even worry late at night that silence is being read as coldness. So the question becomes gentler and more honest. Does sharing feel like connection, or does it feel like pressure? Does posting add warmth to relationships, or does it steal peace from the mind? Does silence feel like freedom, or does it feel like fear? Sometimes the clearest answer appears after the phone is set down. The room returns. The breath slows. A small sound, like a fan or distant traffic, becomes noticeable again. The mind stops performing. The moment stops asking to be translated into a caption. And in that quiet, there is no need to offer more updates, more highlights, more proof for an invisible crowd. There is only the possibility that a life can be full without being displayed, and that a person can be close without being constantly seen, and that the next time the thumb hovers over post, the question that matters might simply be whether the moment wants to be shown at all.
The psychology of regrets shows how to let go of what-ifs. Have you ever asked yourself a question that will not leave you alone, even years later? Something simple but sharp. Something like, what if I had chosen differently? That question lives at the heart of the psychology of regrets. We all feel regret, but few of us understand what it really is, why it hits so hard, and how to let the weight of the past fall off our backs. Today, you'll see why the mind clings to what if, why some regrets last longer than others, and how you can loosen their grip before they shape your future. Because once you understand the science of regret, you understand how to escape it. You might think regret is only sadness or disappointment, but the truth is far sharper. Regret is the clash between the life you lived and the life you imagine you could have lived. Psychologists call that counterfactual thinking, the brain's habit of building a second version of your past and comparing it to your real one. This comparison is why regret stings. It's not just emotion. It is the mind judging your choices and announcing that the alternate version looks better. When people talk about regret psychology or emotional regret, this is what they mean. The story your brain creates, then punishes you for. Regret lands hardest when you have real control over the outcome. A choice you made, a step you didn't take, a chance you ignored. The brain marks those moments as your fault, even when you acted with the information you had. That mix of emotion and judgment is what traps people. And once you see that, the next layer becomes clearer. Some regrets hit like a bruise you barely notice. Others feel like a knife that never stops digging. Why the difference? Because the deepest regrets come from the things we didn't do. Missed chances stay with people longer than mistakes they actually made. Doing something and failing gives you a full story. Not doing something gives you an unfinished one. And unfinished stories keep the brain busy. This is why so many lifelong regrets fall into the same areas. Love we did not pursue. Dreams we waited too long to try. Paths we were scared to follow. These are not small losses. They touch identity, hope, and meaning. They matter. And the more something matters, the more the mind replays it. But here's the part most people don't see until much later. Regret is not just emotional pain. It reshapes your mind and rewires your body from the inside out. When regret turns into rumination, it drains you. You keep replaying the same scene, the same choice, the same moment. The loop raises stress levels, increases anxiety, and makes the world feel heavier than it is. People think they are reflecting, but they are reliving. Your brain treats the memory like a living threat. Your body responds with tension, tight breath, and a quiet sense of defeat that sits on your chest. If you notice you are tired even on calm days, that may be why. The mind is carrying a weight that the present moment did not create. And the danger is simple. Regret steals energy from the life you're trying to build right now. But here is the turn most people do not expect. Regret is not only damage. In the right conditions, it becomes direction. Some regrets push people to change, to grow, to try again with more courage. That is the useful side of the psychology of regret. It shows that regret can sharpen your values and teach you what truly matters. Regret can help you see the gap between the life you want and the life you are living. It can help you correct your course. It can help you be honest about what you want, maybe for the first time. But none of that happens when regret is heavy, loud, and painful. It only happens when regret is processed, not avoided. And that processing starts with a shift that is easier than it sounds. First, acknowledge it. Most people push regret away or pretend it does not affect them. But ignored regret grows in the dark. Calling it by name softens its power. You shift from being controlled by the feeling to observing it. Next, be kind to yourself in the moments you wish you had been wiser. Self-blame feels like the responsible thing, but it never leads to change. Self-compassion does. Treating your past self like someone who tried, not someone who failed, opens the door to growth. Third, reframe the story. This is not rewriting the past. It is seeing it from the angle you missed while you were hurting. Instead of, I ruined everything, it becomes, I learned something valuable. Instead of, I was stupid, it becomes, I did what I could at the time. Reframing is not denial. It is a balance. The fourth is to act if action is possible. Some regrets can be softened by reaching out, rebuilding, reopening a dream you left behind, or making amends. Action breaks the loop. It tells the brain, we are not stuck. But when action is not possible, when the moment is gone, letting go means shifting your focus forward. Not forgetting, but releasing. That release is a skill, and it gets easier with practice. These tools are not quick fixes. They are long-term rewires. They slowly change how your mind talks to itself, how it handles mistakes, and how it carries the past. But one more shift completes the picture, and it may be the most important one. The people who feel the least regret are not the ones who make the best choices. They are the ones who expect less perfection from themselves. They stop demanding the perfect option. They choose what is good enough and what fits their values instead of what earns approval. This mindset lowers regret because it lowers pressure. The goal stops being, I must choose perfectly, and becomes, I will choose honestly. The next step is to shift attention to the present. Regret lives in the past, but your power lives here. People who stay anchored in their current reality ruminate less because their mind has something real to hold on to. And finally, see your story as a full story. The hard parts included. Growth is a messy, necessary chaos. It's what pushes you forward. Regret tries to freeze you in time, but the moment you choose motion, even slow motion, it loosens its grip. When you start living with intention, your regrets stop defining you. Instead, it starts informing you. And with that shift, you step into a life that moves forward instead of circles back. Maybe that is the point we miss while we're busy running from the past. Regret is not the enemy. It is the signal. And the moment you listen to what it is trying to teach you, the moment you stop letting it punish you, something shifts. The past loses its bite. Your story regains its shape. And the question, what if, becomes something lighter, a shadow you can walk past instead of a burden you carry. Because what if the thing you regret the most is the thing that sets you free?
Have you ever wondered why some people feel more alive the moment they close their own front door? Not bored, not lonely, just grounded. Like the world finally makes sense again. For people who love staying at home, that moment isn't rare. It's their everyday reality. While others chase noise, crowds, and plans, they find their spark in stillness, comfort, and the quiet rhythm of their own space. So what makes staying at home feel so good for them? Why do some people recharge in solitude while others drain in it? And how does choosing a home sanctuary actually lead to a happier, clearer, more intentional life than constantly going out? Let's pull back the curtain on a world most people never slow down long enough to understand. Some people step into a crowded place and feel their energy drain like a battery on red. Others walk into the living room and feel it rise. That's because many home-first people have a brain that works better in stable, low-stimulation environments. Psychologists studying sensory processing found that people with more sensitive nervous systems absorb details more intensely, such as lights, sounds, movement, and even social cues. For them, the outside world isn't exciting. It's loud, it's busy, it's too much. At home, the noise drops, their thoughts sharpen, their breathing slows, the stress chemicals fade. The brain switches from overload to control. This isn't shyness or laziness. This is biology. It's the same reason some animals survive better in calm habitats, while others chase chaos. People with this wiring operate their best when the environment supports their nervous system instead of attacking it. And once you understand that, staying home stops looking like hiding and starts looking like alignment. But there's another layer people miss. It's not just about shutting the world out. It's about what staying in lets them access. There's a moment many homebodies know well. The door closes, the world quiets, and the mind finally clicks into place. Not loneliness, clarity. Psychologists call this restorative solitude. It's the kind of alone time that resets the emotional system, boosts creativity, and strengthens decision-making. People who love staying home experience a deeper version of it because they don't treat solitude as punishment. They treat it as fuel. When they're alone, the brain isn't scanning for social cues or managing small talk. It's free. And something else happens. Inner voices get louder than outer opinions. That's why people who enjoy staying at home often know themselves better. They hear their real thoughts without noise drowning them out. They sense what they want, what they don't, and who they are when no one's watching. Research shows that this kind of attentive solitude increases emotional regulation, meaning homebodies recover from stress faster and make calmer choices in conflicts. It's not that they're avoiding life. It's that they're strengthening the part of themselves that shows up when life hits them back. Still, it's not just the emotional benefits that make this lifestyle powerful. There's a practical side people overlook, and it changes everything. The outside world is anything but certain. Crowds, traffic, noise, expectations, costs. But the moment someone steps into their own cozy living space, everything becomes predictable. They control the temperature, the lighting, the sounds, and the pace. That control builds something many people struggle to maintain: mental efficiency. When the environment is predictable, the brain wastes less energy reacting, which means more energy for focus, creativity, and strategy. And then there's the financial part. People who enjoy their domestic lifestyle naturally avoid the constant spending on drinks, rides, food, events, and clothes that come with going out. Their fun doesn't require an entry fee. Their peace isn't tied to a place that charges by the hour. They also conserve emotional energy. No forced conversations, no awkward social loops, no pretending. That saved energy becomes fuel for their own interests, projects, hobbies, and personal growth. Where others burn out from constant stimulation, home-first people build stability. Where others chase novelty for a dopamine spike, they create deep, lasting enjoyment. And that's why the stay-at-home personality isn't a limitation. It's a strategic lifestyle, one built on peace, intention, and self-direction. But what they do with that peace, that's where the story gets even more interesting. Certain people need constant noise just to feel alive. Homebodies don't. They come alive when the world gets quiet enough for their mind to start working at full depth. When someone spends more time in their own sanctuary, something rare happens. Their interests stop being shallow hobbies and start becoming long-form passions. There's no rush, no interruption, no pressure to perform. They can dive into coding for 3 hours straight, or lose themselves in a book, or even build a craft skill. Psychologists call this deep focus immersion, the state where attention narrows and creativity expands. It shows up more in calm, controlled environments than in public ones, where constant interruptions break concentration before it even forms. People who love staying at home master this state with ease, not because they're special, but because their environment actually supports it. This is why so many writers, artists, engineers, analysts, and hobby-driven thinkers thrive in solitude. Home becomes a workshop for the mind, a place where scattered thoughts finally land and stay still long enough to grow. And even if the world doesn't see the progress, homebodies feel it every single day. But their life isn't just built on inner depth. Their way of connecting with others is just as unique and just as misunderstood. The stereotype says staying home means being antisocial. But in reality, home-focused people can have stronger relationships than anyone else. Why? Because they don't spread their time thin. They don't bounce from circle to circle trying to fit in. They choose carefully, intentionally, and they show up fully for the people they trust. There's no performance, no mask, and no social exhaustion that forces them to withdraw. When they talk, it's meaningful. When they listen, it's attentive. When they care, it's real, not something done out of obligation. Their friendships often form around shared routines, things like home dinners, long conversations, movie nights, game nights, and creative sessions. These aren't backup plans. They're the kind of slow, comfortable interactions that build emotional closeness faster than any loud night out. And here's the part most people overlook. Because homebodies pace their social energy, they avoid burnout. Their connections last longer. They don't disappear, ghost, or run out of steam. They build relationships the same way they build their inner world, steadily, deeply, and with their full heart present. But the most surprising part of this lifestyle isn't the peace, or the focus, or even the relationships. It's the sense of power it gives them. Choosing to stay at home in a world that pressures you to go out isn't a weakness. It's autonomy. Most people don't realize how much of their life is shaped by outside noise, trends, comparison, fear of missing out, and social pressure. But people who love their cozy living rhythm move differently. They choose based on internal signals, not external ones. At home, they build routines that protect their mental health. They create order when the world feels chaotic. They learn to enjoy their own company instead of fearing silence. And behind that, something powerful forms. A solid identity. One that doesn't bend every time the world changes direction. They aren't running from discomfort. They're choosing clarity and control. They're choosing a life that actually fits their nervous system, their energy, and their sense of meaning. This is why homebodies often seem calm under stress. Their inner life is anchored, and that strength doesn't look loud. It looks steady. And that's the part the world almost always misjudges. People chase the world because they're scared of sitting with themselves. Homebodies aren't. They face the quiet and find a life inside that most people never slow down long enough to see.
Can a broken heart really make the whole body ache? Grief is not only a feeling in the mind, it is a full-body event. After a loss, the body can hurt in ways that feel confusing and even scary. Tight chests, Upset stomachs, headaches, and heavy tiredness can show up without warning. Some people worry something is seriously wrong because the pain feels physical, not emotional. This is what happens when loss moves through the nervous system, the muscles, the gut, and the immune system, and why the hurt can feel so real. Staying with this thought can make those signals easier to name. When the signals make sense, they often feel a little less frightening and a little more human. In the first days after a loss, the body often acts like it is under threat. Sleep breaks apart. Food tastes wrong. Hands feel cold. The jaw stays clenched. The shoulders creep upward. Even small tasks can feel like lifting something too heavy. What appears is not weakness, it is a biological response. Human brains are built to attach. When someone important is gone, the brain reads it as danger. Safety once lived in that person's voice, routine, and presence. When that pattern breaks, the body scrambles to find what it lost. The stress system turns on. The heart may race. Breathing becomes shallow. Some people feel a squeeze in the chest that comes and goes in waves. Others feel a dull pressure that stays all day. Muscles brace as if another blow might come. That bracing leads to neck pain, back pain, and headaches. The mind searches for meaning, but the body searches for control. Control appears as tension. The stomach tightens. The throat feels thick. Hands grip without noticing. The body tries to hold itself together because it cannot hold the lost person. That is why grief can look like illness. Nausea can rise at random moments. Food may sit like a stone. Appetite disappears or shifts toward quick comfort. Not out of greed, but because the nervous system reaches for fast energy. Digestion and safety share the same wiring. When the body stays on alert, digestion becomes uneven. Sleep often suffers next. The body feels exhausted, yet the mind refuses to shut down. When sleep arrives, it is light and fragile. Many wake at the same hour each night, as if listening for footsteps that will never arrive. Memory and sleep are closely linked. Grief pulls hard on that connection. Thin sleep increases pain. The body has fewer chances to repair itself. Muscles stay tight. Energy drops. Small sickness feels bigger. The body is spending effort watching the world, leaving less for healing. Some grief feels like depletion. Legs feel heavy. Arms feel weak. The head feels fogged. Words disappear mid-sentence. Names slip away. Grief consumes attention. The brain stays busy tracking reminders, searching and trying to understand what changed. That work has a cost. Then come the jolts. A song tightens the chest. A scent drops the stomach. A vibration from a phone makes the skin prickle. These are memory alarms. The brain linked certain cues to the person who is gone, so the body reacts before thought can intervene. This explains why grief comes in waves. It can be quiet for an hour, then overwhelming. Calm in the morning. Heavy at night. The brain is slowly learning the person will not return, while older expectations insist they should. Some notice heart sensations, palpitations, shortness of breath. Stress can affect the heart. Any severe or new chest pain, fainting, or trouble breathing should always be checked urgently. Grief explains many sensations, but never replaces medical care. Most grief pain is muscular and deep. Shoulders ache like a weight has been carried all day. The lower back throbs from constant bracing. The jaw hurts from hours of clenching. Headaches follow tension, dehydration, and tears. Crying itself causes soreness. The chest heaves. The stomach contracts. Afterward, the body feels spent, like it ran a long distance. Others do not cry much and still hurt. A person can appear calm while the body stays locked in alert mode, and pain shows up as stiffness or restlessness. Daily rhythm breaks. Water is forgotten. Meals are skipped. Sunlight avoided. Movement shrinks to a few steps between rooms. These changes increase pain quickly. The body responds to a routine that has collapsed. Social effort hurts too. Humans soothe each other through voice and touch. After loss, conversation feels heavy and crowds feel sharp. The body reacts with tension and fatigue, not because connection is unwanted, but because it costs more when the heart is raw. Sometimes numbness arrives. Numbness is not the absence of pain. It is a shield. When the brain senses overload, it turns down feeling to keep functioning. Underneath, the stress system still hums, creating aches and fatigue. As time passes, something confusing happens. The body may feel better on a day when the mind feels worse, or the mind steadies while the body crashes. Grief comes and goes rather than moving forward in a straight line. The body and mind process at different speeds. One belief sharpens pain, the belief that the body should be over it by now. That belief adds shame. Shame tightens the chest and throat. Shame keeps muscles braced. When grief is treated like a deadline, the body stays tense. The body does not need pressure. It needs steadiness. Water, simple food, warmth, gentle movement, slow breathing. These are not cures. They are signals that the moment is survivable. When those signals repeat, the nervous system loosens in small steps. The jaw releases for a second. The shoulders drop. The stomach settles. Sleep returns in fragments. This does not mean the loss mattered less. It means the body is learning to carry it without constant alarm. And then comes the realization that changes everything. Pain in the body is love searching for somewhere to go. The ache belongs to the attachment system, built for closeness, now forced to live with absence. The body is not malfunctioning. It is doing what it was designed to do: search, protest, and slowly adapt. The pain of grief isn't only about loss or damage. It is also proof that something was deeply right. The bond was real. Safety lived in shared routines and ordinary moments. When that bond breaks, the body loses its map. That is why pain moves. One day the chest, another day the gut, another day the back. The body is not being dramatic. It is trying to redraw its map. The mind understands loss with words. The body understands it through sensation. As the body builds a new map, strange feelings appear. Ease brings guilt. Laughter feels like betrayal. Rest feels like forgetting. But rest is not disrespect. It is repair. The nervous system needs space to keep carrying memory. Pain will return. Dates, chairs, phrases. The body may always react. The goal is not to erase reactions. It is for them to pass without consuming the whole day. Grief can hurt physically, and that pain can make grief feel endless. But the body is not working against you. It is a messenger. Each ache signals that something mattered. Each tight breath is protection trying to adapt. Over time, the body recognizes new safety, not the old safety tied to one person, but a quieter kind found in routine and support. The bond does not disappear. It changes shape. Some nights, the body still listens. The chest feels heavy. The stomach turns. Not because healing failed, but because hope once lived there. Hope does not leave on command. It lingers in muscle and breath. The body does not need convincing that the loss is real. It already knows. What it needs is proof that survival is possible inside the pain. That proof arrives quietly, when breathing deepens without effort, when hands rest open, when food settles, when sleep lasts a little longer. These moments are subtle, but the nervous system notices. Why do some people keep arriving late even when they care, try, and promise to be on time? This video explores the quiet psychology behind chronic lateness. Not the jokes, not the labels, but the inner patterns that shape how time is felt, avoided, or misjudged. It looks at what lateness protects, what it signals, and why it often has little to do with disrespect. Staying until the end matters because chronic lateness is rarely about clocks or schedules. It is often about something personal. Understanding that shift can change how this behavior is seen, how it is handled. Lateness is usually treated as a simple problem. Set an alarm. Leave earlier. Try harder. But when someone is late again and again, even after consequences, something else is happening. Time is not experienced the same way by everyone. Some people feel time as pressure. Others feel it as a blur. For people who are always late, time often feels abstract until it becomes urgent. One sign is last-minute urgency. These individuals may move slowly until the moment they must leave. Then everything becomes rushed. This is not laziness. It is a nervous system that responds more strongly to deadlines than to plans. The brain releases more energy under pressure. For some people, that pressure is what finally creates focus. Without it, the task feels distant and unreal. Another sign is optimism bias. This is the quiet belief that things will take less time than they actually do. Getting ready, driving, finding parking. Each step is underestimated, not on purpose. The brain edits out friction. This bias is common in people who struggle with planning under uncertainty. They imagine the best-case version of events, not the average one. There is also a strong link to attention regulation. People who are easily absorbed in thoughts, tasks, or screens may lose track of time without noticing. Minutes disappear, then hours. This is not about caring less. It is about awareness shifting inward. The outside world fades until something interrupts it. Another overlooked sign is emotional avoidance. Being on time means arriving. Arriving means facing something, a meeting, a conversation, a judgment. For some, lateness creates a buffer. That buffer offers emotional protection. It delays discomfort. It shortens exposure. Being late can unconsciously reduce time spent in stressful situations. This does not mean the person wants to be late. It means part of the mind is pulling back from what comes next. There is also identity at play. Some people grow up in environments where time was flexible. Being late was normal. No one rushed. No one punished it. Over time, this becomes part of how the self is organized. Changing that pattern later in life can feel like changing personality. It creates resistance, even when the intention is strong. Chronic lateness can also be tied to control, not in an obvious way, but in subtle ways. Time becomes one of the few areas where autonomy is expressed. When life feels constrained, lateness can feel like reclaiming agency. Arriving on one's own schedule becomes a quiet statement of self-direction. This is rarely conscious, but it can be powerful. Another sign is shame cycles. After being late repeatedly, many people feel embarrassed. That shame makes planning harder. Avoidance increases. The problem grows. The person may stop believing change is possible. So effort drops, not from lack of care, but from hopelessness. There is also fear of evaluation. Arriving on time can feel like being fully seen. Late arrival allows blending in, less attention, less expectation. In group settings, this can feel safer, especially for people who already feel self-conscious. Some people are late because transitions are hard. Moving from one task to the next requires energy. Ending what is familiar and moving into something new can feel jarring, so they linger, not because they want to disrespect time, but because stopping is harder than starting. Another sign is difficulty with future self-projection. This is the ability to imagine how one will feel later. People who struggle with this may know they should leave earlier, but cannot emotionally connect to the future consequence. The future feels vague, the present feels real. So the present wins. There is also a pattern of emotional flooding. When someone feels overwhelmed, time management collapses. Everything feels urgent. Nothing feels prioritized. In that state, the clock becomes background noise. Chronic lateness can also be learned behavior. If consequences are inconsistent, the brain does not update. Sometimes being late costs nothing. Sometimes it does. The uncertainty keeps the pattern alive. The brain learns from patterns, not lectures. One of the most misunderstood signs is effort without results. Many chronically late people try very hard. Alarms, notes, promises. Yet the behavior stays. This leads others to assume they do not care. In reality, effort is being applied to the wrong layer of the problem. Time management advice often targets behavior, but the issue is often emotional or neurological. Another sign is sensitivity to external pressure. Being told to hurry can increase resistance. The nervous system reads pressure as threat. Performance drops. This creates a paradox. The more others push, the worse it gets. Chronic lateness is also connected to how people value relational safety. Some individuals delay because they fear letting others down. Ironically, the fear leads to the very outcome they dread. The mind freezes. Avoidance follows. It is important to note that not all lateness is psychological. Life happens, systems fail, traffic exists. The pattern matters more than the event. When lateness is consistent across contexts and resistant to change, it points inward. The central realization is this: chronic lateness is often a regulation issue, not a respect issue. It is about how the brain handles time, emotion, and transitions. It is about protection, not rebellion. Avoidance, not apathy. Seeing it this way does not excuse the impact. Being late affects others, It creates stress, it breaks trust, but understanding the cause changes the response. Instead of focusing only on punctuality, the deeper work is about safety, clarity, and structure. When people feel emotionally safe, time becomes easier to manage. When transitions are supported, leaving happens sooner. When shame is reduced, follow-through improves. This is why harsh consequences alone rarely fix chronic lateness. They increase the pressure without fixing the underlying issue. The pattern softens when the nervous system calms. For those who live with chronically late people, this perspective can reduce personalizing the behavior. It may still require boundaries, but it shifts the story from disrespect to struggle. And for those who are always late, this understanding can replace self-blame with curiosity. Change begins not with stricter alarms, but with noticing what lateness is doing. What is it protecting? What is it delaying? What does being on time threaten? Because beneath the missed minutes is often a quiet negotiation between fear, energy, and identity. And that negotiation is still happening long after the clock has moved on, long after everyone else has already arrived while the door is opening. Just a little too late, and the room is already full, and the moment has already started, and something inside is still deciding whether it is ready to step in at all. Why does an adult sometimes feel 6 years old in the middle of a normal day? Inner child healing is a way of understanding how early experiences still shape reactions even years later. It is not about acting childish, and it is not about blaming the past. It is about seeing the younger part that still expects danger, rejection, or pressure, and how that expectation can steer thoughts, moods, and relationships. This narration walks through the clearest signs that this younger part is asking for care, and why those signs can feel confusing. Staying until the end matters because one quiet, everyday habit is often the strongest clue, and noticing it can loosen a tension that has felt normal for a long time. A common first sign is a big reaction to a small moment. A friend replies with one-word texts. A partner forgets a small promise. A manager sounds flat in a meeting. Suddenly, the body tightens. The heart drops. The mind rushes to worst-case stories. Then confusion arrives. The event was small. The feeling is huge. This usually comes from the nervous system, not from weak character. In many childhoods, small cues were warnings. A sigh could mean blame. A quiet house could mean trouble. A delayed pickup could mean being forgotten. The body learned to react early to stay safe. That learning can stay switched on in adulthood, even when the present is not dangerous. A second sign is the feeling that love must be earned. Some people feel safest when they are useful. They do extra work, fix problems, and smooth tension before anyone asks. They become the easy one. They keep needs small and say yes too quickly. Rest doesn't always bring relief. Sometimes it brings guilt. This often starts when attention felt conditional. Praise may have come only with good grades, good behavior, or helping adults cope. A child learns. Being needed keeps people close. Later, the adult may look strong and reliable while feeling unseen and tired inside. The inner child keeps working because stopping feels like losing connection. A third sign is fear around conflict, even gentle conflict. Hard talks get delayed. Feelings get swallowed. The phrase, "it's fine," appears, even when it is not. Sometimes the mind goes blank during tension. Words disappear. The body freezes. Later, the conversation plays on repeat with shame and frustration. In some homes, conflict did not lead to repair. It led to yelling, harsh criticism, silent treatment, or punishment. So a child learned to stay small, to stay safe. As an adult, the body can treat disagreement like a threat to belonging. That is why calm feedback can still feel like being in trouble, even when no one is attacking. A fourth sign is heavy shame over normal mistakes. A small error feels personal. A forgotten detail feels like proof of being bad. A messy week feels like failure as a person. The inner voice can become sharp and unforgiving. It may use words like lazy, selfish, or stupid. Healthy guilt focuses on an action and leaves room for repair. Toxic shame attacks identity. Toxic shame often grows when a child is criticized for feelings, needs, or normal development. A child cannot easily separate something went wrong from being wrong, so perfection becomes a shield. The problem is that perfection never feels secure for long. A fifth sign is emotional numbness. Tears feel stuck. Joy feels far away. Important moments feel muted. Life can feel like watching through glass. From the outside, this can look calm and controlled. Inside, it can feel flat or empty. Numbness is often a protective skill. If emotions were unsafe in childhood, the mind learned to turn the volume down. Not feeling too much helped the child function. But the same shield that blocks pain also blocks warmth, play,